Okay, hey YouTube. I know I just posted a video like a day or two ago, but something happened yesterday that was so interesting that I had to make a video before I forgot the intensity of it and just the exact event. But it was a little tragic based on what the description says or the title of the video, but I thought it was actually like pretty interesting. And I think it informs people that believe that racial profiling is not a real thing, or people that think it's all in our heads, um, or systematic racism is just a figment of our imagination. Since everything, everyone is so informed now, but this was so interesting um, that it's gonna be a part of my memory for many, many years, and it's gonna be something that I'll talk about. Look at that. My shirt don't even fit anymore. But let's get straight to it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I actually work in the field of human services. Um, I've been doing it since 2013, and I started out in a group home, and then I went back to school, still stayed at the group home, did my master's, still stayed at the group home. Then I left and I started working as a case worker for people with IDD. If you don't know what that means, it means intellectual and developmental disabilities. I did that for 6 months, and then I was recruited by a company, and I was hired as a associate director of operations, which was a pretty good job. I just had a nervous breakdown. I had to quit, which is that's going to be a whole different video. But I had so much trauma from that experience of the whole nervous breakdown, everything, that I did not apply for any jobs. I just kept working for the group home part time, which was enough to pay all my bills. So basically, whatever I was making as the associate director of services, that was basically going in my savings. But I was so traumatized by the whole nervous breakdown and everything that I just didn't apply for anything. And I went back to group home as a supervisor for a little bit, being trained and everything. But then I got a call. Well, I got an email from this in-home family therapy service company, and I responded to them, and I assumed they were pretty busy, so I called them, about the application, and they were like, "Yeah, let's set up an interview. We'd like to." And during this call, the director actually kind of pre-screened me, and he wanted to make sure I was a perfect fit without letting me feel like I was being interviewed. So yeah, I know. Shirt's too tight now. But we arranged for an interview, and I'm the kind of person I get more done when I'm busy, so I like to schedule things back to back because it keeps me on my feet. And I went ahead and okay, this thing is really annoying me, so I'm probably gonna bring the camera a little in so it's not like okay, it's still there. So, I arranged it like right after. So I got out of work at 4 o'clock, but I clocked out 3:55. I already started my car, had my car going so that I would have AC. The car would be cool by the time I got in there. And I didn't want to do the interview in front of the house I was working because personally I think that's disrespectful. Plus, it's distracting. So I went ahead and I pulled away, and being aware of my environment, because I've been racially profiled many, many times just doing my, whether grocery store, park to, change the address in my GPS, stop to, because I heard something like maybe some rattling. I stopped to look at my car to see what's going on. And I'm used to cops, just swarming down on me for no apparent reason. So I was aware, and I always tell people to be aware is to be alive. I was aware that if I parked in front of someone's house, they might call the cops. So I went and I looked for a house that it was very far from the street, like it was way back, and this house was, I think it was either under construction or it was just for sale or something. And it was so far. I mean, it was like three house sizes away from the street. There was a big tree there, and so I parked under it. For those who don't know, I drive a sport car. I drive a very bright red Scion TC, no tints. You can look right through it and see me. You can see all the details in my face and what I'm wearing. And I was dressed for the interview. Well, not super dressy, but decent enough for an interview. I went to, I parked and I got an interview and I explained to them, yeah, I work up the street, but, I need to get this interview done. So we started the interview and I was expressing my personal interest as well as my interest in the organization, the fact that I really, really love psychology. I regret that I didn't do my master's in psychology because I love it beyond the academics. I really love it. I love the fact that, human behavior cannot be predicted, but we all have things that are similar based on the biology of our brain and our environment. So I was talking about all that, and the interview was going amazing. I was not watching the time. They weren't watching the time. We were sharing experiences, getting to know each other and everything. And I noticed that a couple cars, by the way, this is in Mechanicsburg. So Harrisburg seems a little more on the diverse side than Mechanicsburg. They're neighboring areas. But the moment I moved to Harrisburg, I was told that Mechanicsburg and Camp Hill are the white sides of the area. Harrisburg is a black side. That's what I was told. But there are some super $1 million nice houses over in Harrisburg. But because there's more black people over here, people say it's a black side. So anyway, I sit there and I saw a trooper SUV like drive past me, and I kept looking back and I said to my interviewer, it was like, I'm not looking around because I'm not interested in this interview or I'm easily distracted, but I think someone called the cops on me, and they were like, please, no. And I'm like, we'll see. So then I saw the SUV. It goes back, like it goes to the top of the street, and then it starts coming down. And then it parked about 3 cars lengths behind me. And then while I'm doing the interview, I saw that the guy's coming. I was like, guys, he's coming out. And they were like unbelievably shocked. They were like, this, you have to be kidding. And then the lady that would be my supervisor was like, you gotta be kidding me right now. Are you serious? I'm like, I'm dead serious. And she's like, yeah, I see someone walking. And they were connected because my phone connects to the Bluetooth in my car. So it's like loud. You can hear the conversation outside the car. So I was like, guys, please don't get me in trouble. Because I couldn't disconnect it. And so they were just watching. They're like, well, you have witnesses. And the cop came to the passenger side window and he knocked on it, asked me to, roll it down. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. How are you? And he's like, well, someone called and said there was a suspicious car in the area, and we've had a couple of shootings happening here. Really? Like, really? We don't have, like, they don't have them kind of things over in Mechanicsburg. The most they'll have are like break-ins and stuff. They don't have that kind of issue over there. Then he's like, but someone reported it, so we just want to make sure that everything's okay. I'm like, yes, mister. I'm actually doing an interview and I work a few blocks up the street at a group home, but I needed to get this interview done, so I made sure to park away from someone's house in case someone wanted to call the cops. As you can see, my car is, you can see through my windows because I don't have any tint. And he's like, may I see an ID? And then he looks at it, verifies my address, and then he's like, what's your number? So I told him. He's like, oh, you're from the north. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Bloomsburg, PA. And of course, at this point, it got super awkward because there's nothing else to say. And I'm like, we're wrapping up our interviews. Here's the screen. So I made sure he could see the screen. I'm like, I'm in a job interview right now, and I needed a quiet area to pull over to. I'm on the public street. He know there was nothing to say because there's not a no parking thing there. It's a public street. It's not a private development. It's literally a public street. And he's like, okay, you're all good to go. And he left. The people on the interview were so disturbed. I mean, the what would be my supervisor, she was so annoyed. And then the director he didn't even know what to say because who's doing that? And to make matters worse, here comes some other trooper SUVs on their way to address the same situation. I'm like, how many people dispatched because a bright red car was parked under a tree for less than an hour? Like, at this point, it was like 30 minutes. Um, and like, if you were inquisitive enough to look, you would realize that I wasn't there smoking weed. I wasn't there sleeping. I was literally, you could see, because I have a huge phone that is on my screen, on my windshield. You can literally see it. You can hear the conversation outside of the car, but someone close enough had to go ahead and call the cops. Um, well, for the first time in my life, I will say that racial profiling, as well as my response to it, actually got me the job expedited because I knew they were really liking what I had to say and the fact that I was passionate about this job and I wasn't fronting and saying I know all this thing. I already did my research about the company. I researched some of the foundational measures they take when providing services and the frameworks. And so I was so interested in learning more. It wasn't just about me saying that, oh yeah, I kind of know this. I was like, no, there are a couple things I don't know about, but I'm so willing to go home and start looking it up because these things seem so ideal for the kind of services that you guys provide. And they were like, you know what? I'm really sorry this happened to you. I was like, nope, I am actually happy that it happened because it not only showed you that I hold my composure, but the fact that this is a teaching moment and I can bring it up. I can bring this bring this up in conversations where people blatantly dismiss. So, okay, so what are they going to say? Oh, well, I shouldn't park there. How many times have I had, how many times have I had like white people in my driveway? Okay, and I don't even say anything. I'm like, this is weird, but okay, I'm just gonna go in and mind my own business. I'm not gonna run and go call the cops. There are times when I have nowhere to park because all these random people are parked and having lunch or something. I don't think, because it's a public street, I do not own the street. I don't own this street because it's in front of my house. The property ends where the street begins. But this did not get me the job, obviously, but it evoked such passion that they were able to observe me holding my composure, as well as, it kind of gave me a little bit of leeway because they were like, you know what, we're not even going to waste time to evaluate this. You seem like the person we want. You like us enough to have researched everything and still want to stay and work with us. Let's just go ahead and provide an offer. So that's my racial profiling story and how it worked out for me during a Zoom interview. It couldn't have happened at a better moment. Oh, and to show how much my future employers care, about 15 minutes after that, while I was on the highway, the director called and asked if I was okay, apologized. And I was like, look, Mister, this was a teaching moment and I'm happy. I wouldn't have had it any other way. So I would love to hear of other like weird racial profiling experiences and just like tell it in the comment section, reach out if you need to. But now I have to deal with the daunting task of telling my now employer that sorry, but I I found an amazing opportunity and I'm gonna jump in it head first. Until then, peace out.